Hello everyone, I am Leslie P. Cauba, and today I'm going to report my assigned topic which entitled to Router and Mischel Cognitive Social Learning Theory. But in this lesson, I will be just discussing about Router Cognitive Social Learning Theory and Mischel will be discussed by my pair. So in this lesson, we're going to discuss about the overview of cognitive social learning theory, biography of Julian Rother, introduction to Rother social learning theory, predicting specific behaviors in its part, predicting general behaviors in its part, maladaptive behavior, and psychotherapy. So first, the overview of the cognitive social learning theory. Cognitive factors help shape how people will react to environmental forces. Rauter contends that human behavior is best predicted from an understanding of interaction of people with their meaningful environment. As an interactionist, he believes that neither the environment itself nor the individual is completely responsible for behavior. Instead, he holds that people's cognitions, past histories, and expectation of the future are keys to predicting behavior. Both Julian Rother and Mischel believe that cognitive factors, more than immediate reinforcement, determine how people will react to environmental forces. Each suggests that our expectation of future events are major determinants of performance. Next, biography of Julian Rauter. Julian B. Rauter was born in Brooklyn on October 22, 1916. He is the author of the Locus Control Scale and best known for his social learning theory of personality. He was the third and the oldest son of Jewish immigrant parents. In 1933, Rauter described his family's socio-economic condition as comfortably middle class until the Great Depression when his father lost his wholesale stationery business and became part of the masses of unemployed for 2 years. In 1993, Rauter recalled that he fit Adler's description of a highly competitive fighting youngest child. Although his parents observed the Jewish religion and custom, they were not very religious. Adler, as an high school student, he became familiar with some of the writings of Freud and Adler, but he majored in chemistry rather than psychology while at Brooklyn College. In 1941, he received a PhD in clinical psychology from Indiana University. After World War II, he took a position at Ohio State where one of his students was Walter Mischel, and in 1963 he moved to the University of Connecticut and remained there since retirement. Next is the locus of control. Locus of control, Rauter in 1966, refers to an individual's belief about the extent of control that they have over things that happen to them. Like for example, number 1, luck is a main reason for people's success, and B, people make their own luck. So, this locus of control as a principle was originated by Julian Rauter in 1954. It considered the tendency of people to believe that control resides internally within them or externally with others or the situation. Locus of control is the control between internal and external. Next, introduction to Rauter's social learning theory. Social learning theory rests on 5 basic hypotheses. 1. Humans interact with their meaningful environments. People's reaction to environmental stimuli depends on the meaning or importance that they attach to an event. Rauter believes that human behavior stems from the interaction of environmental and personal factors. 2. Human personality is learned. Personality is not set or determined at any particular age of development. Instead, it can be changed or modified as long as people are capable of learning. We learn from past experiences, but those experiences are not absolutely constant. They are colored by intervening experiences that then affect present perception. 3. Personality has a basic unity. People's personalities possess relative stability. People learn to evaluate new experiences on the basis of previous reinforcement. 4. Motivation is goal-directed. Roto reject the notion that people are primarily motivated to reduce tension or seek pleasure, insisting that the best explanation for human behavior lies in people's expectations that their behaviors are advancing them toward goals. Like for example, most college students have a goal for graduation and are willing to endure stress, tension, and hard work in order to reach that goal. Rather than reducing tension, the prospect of several difficult years of college classes will promises to increase it. And the statement refers to Rauter's empirical law of effect, which defines reinforcement as any action, condition, or event which affects the individual's movement toward a goal. And lastly, 5. People are capable of anticipating events. They use their perceived movement in the direction of the anticipated event as a criterion for evaluating reinforcers. So, these are 5 general assumptions, and Rotor built a personality theory that attempts to predict human behavior. And now let's proceed to predicting specific behaviors. Human behavior is most accurately predicted by an understanding of 4 variables according to Rotor. Because Rotor's primary concern is the prediction of human behavior, so he suggested the 4 variables that must be analyzed in order to make an accurate predictions in any specific situation. These variables are behavior potential, expectancy, reinforcement value, and psychological situation. Behavior potential refers to a likelihood that a given behavior will occur in a particular situation. Expectancy is a person's expectation of being reinforced. Reinforcement value is a person's preference for a particular reinforcement. And psychological situation refers to a complex pattern of cues that a person perceives during a specific time period. For additional information about these 4 variables, let's discuss it one by one. So first, behavior potential or the BP. Behavior potential is the possibility that a particular response will occur at a given time and place. Several behavior potentials of varying strength exist in any psychological situation. Like for example, as Megan walks toward the restaurant, she has several behavioral potentials. She might pass by without noticing the restaurant or actively ignore it, stop to eat, think about stopping to eat but go on, examine the building and contents with a consideration to purchase it or to stop or go inside and rob the cashier. The possibility that a particular response will occur at a given time and place in relation to its likely reinforcement. Next, expectancy. Expectancy refers to a person's expectation that some specific reinforcement or set of reinforcement will occur in a given situation. Expectancies can be classified into general or specific. Generalized expectancies are learned through previous experiences with a particular response or similar responses and are based on the belief that certain behaviors will be followed by positive reinforcement. Like for example, a college student whose previous hard work has been reinforced by high grades and will have a generalized expectancy of future reward and will work hard in a variety of academic situations. Next, specific expectancies are designated as E or the E prime. Specific expectancies or the expectancy for a particular reinforcement is determined by a combination of a specific expectancy and the generalized expectancy. Like for example, a college student may have general expectancy that a given level of academic work will be rewarded by good grades, but may believe that an equal amount of hard work in a French class will go unrewarded. Next, reinforcement value or the RV. Reinforcement value, which is the preference of a person attaches to any reinforcement when the probabilities for the occurrence of a number of different reinforcement are all equal. So what determines the reinforcement value for any event, condition, or action? First, the individual's perception contributes to the positive or negative value of an event. Rauter calls this perception internal reinforcement and distinguishes it from external reinforcement, which refers to events, conditions, or actions on which one's society or culture places a value. Internal reinforcement it is an individual's perception to an event, whereas external reinforcement refers to society's evaluation of an event. Internal and external reinforcement may be either in harmony or at a variance with one another. Reinforcement seldom occur independently of future-related reinforcement, but are likely to appear in reinforcement sequences, which Rauter in 1982 refers to as clusters of reinforcement. And now, the fourth variable in the prediction formula is the psychological situation. Psychological situation defined as the part of the external and internal world to which a person is responding. People do not behave in a vacuum. Instead, they respond to cues within their perceived environment. Psychological situation is a complex set of interacting cues acting upon an individual for any specific time period. And now, let's proceed to the basic prediction formula. As a hypothetical means of predicting specific behaviors, Rauter proposed a basic formula that includes all the four variables of prediction. And the formula represents as an idealistic rather than a practical means of prediction and no precise value that can be plugged into it. And this formula is read as the potential for behavior X to occur in situation 1 in relation to reinforcement A is a function of the expectancy that behavior X will be followed by reinforcement in A in situation 1 and the value of reinforcement A in situation 1. Hypothetically, in any specific situation, behavior can be predicted by the basic prediction formula, which states that the potential for a behavior to occur in a particular situation in relation to a given reinforcement is a function of people's expectancy that the behavior will be followed by the reinforcement in that situation. And now, the fifth discussion, the predicting general behaviors. The basic prediction is too specific to give clues about how a person will generally behave. To predict general behaviors, we look at David, who has worked for 18 years in Hoffman's hardware store. David has been informed that because of a business decline, Mr. Hoffman must cut his workforce and that David may lose his job. So how can we predict David's subsequent behavior? Will he beg Mr. Hoffman to let him remain with the company? Will he strike out in violence against the store or Mr. Hoffman? Will he display his anger and act aggressively toward his wife or children? Will he begin drinking heavily and become apathetic toward searching for a new job? Or will he immediately and constructively begin looking for another position? The generalized expectancies. The concepts of generalization and generalized expectancy enter into Rauter's theory. Predicting David's reaction to the probable loss of a job is a matter of knowing how he views the options available to him and also the status of his present needs. To make more general predictions of behavior, one must know people's generalized expectancies or their expectation based on similar past experiences that a given behavior will be reinforced. Generalized expectancies include people's needs, that is, behavior that move them toward a goal. So, needs, according to Rother in 1982, define needs as any behavior or a set of behaviors that people see as moving them in the direction of a goal. Needs are not states of deprivation or arousal, but indicators of the direction of behavior. The difference between needs and goals is semantic only. When focus is on the environment, Rother speaks of goals. When it is on the person, he talks of needs. Categories of needs. Rother and Hawkray in 1975 listed six broad categories of needs, with each category representing a group of functionally related behaviors. So, needs are classified into six categories. 1. Recognition status. The need to be recognized by others and to achieve status in their eyes is a powerful need for most people. Recognition status refers to the need to excel, to achieve, and to have others recognize one's worth. For example, in school, sports, occupations, hobbies, and physical appearance. Number 2, dominance. The need to control the behavior of others is called dominance. These needs includes any set of behavior directed at gaining power over the lives of friends, family, colleagues, superiors, and subordinates. Talking colleagues into accepting your ideas is a specific example of dominance. 3. Independence. Independence is the need to be free of the domination of others. It includes those behaviors aimed at gaining the freedom to make decisions, to rely on oneself, and to attain goal without the help of others. Declining help in repairing a bicycle could demonstrate the need for independence. 4. The protection dependency. A set of needs nearly opposite independence are those of protection and dependency. This category includes the needs to be cared for by others, to be protected from frustration and harm, and to satisfy the other need categories. 5. Love and affection. Most people have strong needs for love and affection. That is, needs for acceptance by others that go beyond recognition and status to include some indications that other people have warm, positive feelings for them. The needs for love and affection include those behaviors aimed towards securing friendly regard, interest, and devotion from others. Doing favors for others in anticipation of receiving verbal expressions of positive regard and gratitude might be an example of this need. 6. Physical comfort. Physical comfort is perhaps the most basic need because other needs are learned in relation to it. These needs include those behaviors aimed at securing food, good health, and physical security. Need components. A need complex has three essential components: the need potential, freedom of movement, and the need value. And these components are analogous to the more specific concepts of behavior potential, expectancy, and reinforcement value. Need potential refers to the possible occurrence of a set of functionally related behaviors directed towards satisfying the same or similar goals. The need potential is analogous to the more specific concept of behavior potential. The difference between the two is that The need potential refers to a group of functionally related behaviors, whereas behavior potential is the likelihood that a particular behavior will occur in a given situation in relation to a specific reinforcement. Need potential cannot be measured solely through observation of behavior. Freedom of movement can be determined by holding need value constant and observing one's need potential. In the general prediction formula, freedom of movement is analogous to expectancy. Need value. A person's need value is the degree to which he or she prefers one set of reinforcement to another. Reuter, Chance, and Faras in 1972 defined need value as the mean preference value of a set of functionally related reinforcements. Generalized prediction formula. To make generalized predictions regarding a set of behaviors designed to satisfy needs, Reuter introduced this general prediction formula. This equation means that the need potential is a function of freedom of movement and the need value. The formula is analogous to the basic prediction formula, and each factor is parallel to the corresponding factors of the basic formula. The general prediction formula states that the need potential is a function of freedom of movement and need value. Reuter's two most famous scales for measuring generalized expectancies are the internal and external control scale and the interpersonal trust scale. So these are the two prediction formula, a comparison of the basic prediction formula and the general prediction formula. Reuter's general prediction formula allows for people's history of using similar experiences to anticipate present reinforcement. That is, they have a generalized expectancy for success. Reuter's two most popular scales for measuring generalized expectancies are the internal-external control scale and the interpersonal trust scale. The internal and external control of reinforcement. At the core of Reuter's social learning theory is the notion that reinforcement does not automatically stamp in behaviors, but that people have the ability to see a causal connection between their own behavior and the occurrence of the reinforcer. People strive to reach their goals because they have a generalized expectancy that such striving will be successful. To assess internal and external control of reinforcement or locus of control, Reuter developed the internal-external control scale, basing it on the doctoral dissertations of the two of his students, Jerry Faras and William James. The IE scale or the internal-external scale attempts to measure the degree to which people perceive a causal relationship between their own efforts and environmental consequences. People who score high on internal control generally believe that the source of control resides within themselves and that they exercise a high level of personal control in most situations. People who score high on external control generally believe that their life is largely controlled by forces outside themselves, such as chance, destiny, or the behavior of other people. This internal-external control scale, or called as locus of control, attempts to measure the degree to which people perceive a causal relationship between their own effort and environmental consequences. Reuter's internal-external control scale has become one of the most thoroughly investigated topics in psychology as well as in other social sciences, having sparked several thousand publications since its inception. Despite this popularity, the concepts of internal and external control are not always clearly understood. So here are the sample items from Reuter's internal-external control scale. Interpersonal trust scale. Rother in 1980 defined interpersonal trust as a generalized expectancy held by an individual that the word promise, oral, or written statement of another individual or group can be relied on. So here, sample items from Rother's interpersonal trust scale. Maladaptive behavior. Maladaptive behavior in Rother's social learning theory is any persistent behavior that fails to move a person closer to a desired goal. Like for example, a woman whose goal is to be loved by everyone inevitably will be ignored or rejected by someone. To obtain love, she may become socially aggressive or she may withdraw from people, which prevents her from being hurt by them, but which is also non-productive. Maladjusted individuals are characterized by unrealistic goals, inappropriate behaviors, inadequate skills, or unreasonably low expectancies of being able to execute the behaviors necessary for positive reinforcement. Although they have learned inadequate ways of solving problems within social contexts, they can unlearn these behaviors and also learn more appropriate ones within the controlled social environment provided by psychotherapy. Psychotherapy. Rother in 1964, the problems of psychotherapy are problems of how to effect changes in behavior through the interaction of one person with another. That is, they are problems in human learning in a social situation. Although Rother adopts a problem-solving approach to psychotherapy, he does not limit his concern to quick solutions to immediate problems. His interest is more long-range, involving a change in the patient's orientation toward life. In general, the goal of Rother's therapy is to bring freedom of movement and need value into harmony, thus reducing defensive and avoidance behaviors. The therapist assumes an active role as a teacher and attempts to accomplish the therapeutic goal in two basic ways: the changing the importance of goals and eliminating unrealistically low expectancies for success. Changing goals. Many patients are unable to solve life problems because they are pursuing skewed or distorted goals. The role of the therapist is to help these patients understand the faulty nature of their goals and to teach them constructive means of striving toward realistic goals. Rother and Hawkeye in 1975 listed three sources of problems that follow from inappropriate goals. First, two or more important goals may be in conflict. Second, source of problems in is a destructive goal. Some patients persistently pursue self-destructive goals that inevitably result in failure and punishment. Third, unrealistically lofty goals. Many people find themselves in trouble because they set their goals too high and are continually frustrated when they cannot reach or exceed them. Eliminating low expectancies. The therapist tries to eliminate patients' low expectancies of success and its analog, low freedom of movement. People may have low freedom of movement for at least three reasons. First, they may lack the skills or information needed to successfully strive toward their goals. Second, source of low freedom of movement is faulty evaluation of the present situation. And finally, low freedom of movement can spring from inadequate generalization. Rauter believes that a therapist should be an active participant in a social interaction with the patient. An effective therapist possesses the characteristics of warmth, and acceptance not only because these attitudes encourage the patient to verbalize problems, but also because reinforcement from a warm, accepting therapist is more effective than reinforcement from a cold, rejecting one. The therapist attempts to minimize the discrepancy between the need, value, and freedom of movement by helping patients alter their goals or by teaching effective means of obtaining those goals. Even though the therapist is an active problem solver, Rauter believes that eventually patients must be learn to solve their own problems. So that's all. Thank you for watching. God bless us all.